In this episode of The Content Capitalist, I got to have a one-on-one conversation with Tom Breeze. Now, if you don't know who he is, he's known as the British guy with great hair, but more importantly, he's known as the YouTube ads guy. Now, the reason why I respect every single word he says is because he is the guy, the strategist behind some of the fastest growing business YouTube channels there are right now. And if you don't know what I mean, I'm talking about, the bearded guy with big muscles. That guy, he's the strategist behind that, and he's absolutely been crushing it. And not only that, he's not a flash in the pan. He's been doing this for over a decade. That means actually advertising on YouTube and having success. So I asked him some really important questions. And the first thing we're going to talk about in here, which you really need to pay attention to, is how the platform is changing. Because as you know, things change really, really fast. And if you don't keep up, if you don't know what's going on before it happens, that train is going to run you over. So you're going to want to watch this right now.
The Content Capitalist Podcast.
Let's talk about what's working today, what's trending, and what mistakes are you seeing, especially in the YouTube platform?
Okay, cool. So in terms of where we're at right now with the YouTube ad platform, there's so much change happening at the moment. A couple of things that we discovered about 18 months ago that changed everything for us, really. So we looked at all the stats we were getting, and we realized, and really it's like becoming more and more of a creative game on YouTube. So even like right now, there's a transition where if you're running conversion-based campaigns, which is what most people are running if they're doing direct response activity, they are not letting you advertise on keywords, placements, or topics any longer. So everything's going to like broader audiences, which brings a level of uncertainty because we're not sure what that future looks like. We know everyone's in the same boat, so we don't feel too bad about that. It's just we have to sharpen our saw a little bit. So there's a lot of transition happening on YouTube.
Okay, so this next part that we discussed, it was like 18 months ago, he started running this experiment because he found that direct response videos, like those work pretty well on Facebook or Meta, you might call it these days, but they weren't converting the same on YouTube. So they found this weird relationship between click-through rates and then cost per mil, CPM, as advertisers know. And if you understand this relationship, this is something that most people don't know. And more importantly, YouTube doesn't publicly disclose this. Tom Breeze and his team was studying the data and they found this anomaly. And if you understand this anomaly and if you don't understand how to take advantage of it, your ads are going to be doing way better than your competition. So you're going to want to watch this part.
One of the things we found out about 18 months ago is that if you create ridiculously good direct response videos that you would imagine would work really well on someone like Facebook, they don't work well on YouTube. You can get them to work, but it's really hard to get those ads to work. And the reason being is because as the click-through rate improves, the number of people clicking from the number of people that see the ad run, so people clicking to the website, if that starts going up, if you create a good ad and the click-through rate goes up, normally what that means on the platform like Facebook, for example, is the CPMs will drop because it's saying, this is a good ad. People are getting to the website, having a good experience. They'll drop the CPMs because it's a good experience for everybody. Whereas on YouTube, it's the opposite. As you increase that click-through rate, your CPMs also increase. And that's because YouTube don't want people leaving the platform. So they're going to make you pay for that because that's how they make all their money, is that if you keep people on the platform, they keep on seeing ads.
Placement ads, yeah.
That's where they make their money. So when we looked at this, we're like, okay, so what we need to do then is have a lower click-through rate to lower that CPM, because it wasn't like it was a highest click-through rate is a little bit of a nudge. It would like triple, quadruple the CPM to make it impossible to run ads.
And did they disclose this, or did you have to mine that through all the data that you're seing?
As soon as they saw it, we were like, oh my goodness, of course. But we had to have quite a lot of data to prove it out across, which we have across multiple.
Is this commonly known among YouTube advertisers? Or?
We've mentioned it a couple times in publicly, but I've been so quiet because I've just been doubling down on what we're working on at the moment that I haven't really gone out there and talked about it too much. But I mentioned it, and a couple like YouTube advertisers were like, "Oh my God, we just ran our numbers, and you're completely right." I'm like, "I know."
That's crazy. I think anyone listening and is like this alone, this one thing alone, is a game changer to understand that relationship between CPMs and click throughs.
Yeah, this is what got us more into the world we're in now, which is where we're saying, right, the ads we create are kind of what YouTube wants. And what everyone wants, really. No one wants to go to YouTube and see a direct response, hard-hitting ad constantly. That's kind of what everyone hates about YouTube, right? It's like the ad starts and it's like, hey, if you just give me 90 seconds or whatever, it's like, oh, shut up, skip ad. And it's not, and everyone knows it. The user doesn't like it. YouTube doesn't like it. The only person that kind of likes it is the advertiser. So when they change this, or they didn't change anything, it's just more that we discovered it. When the CPMs increased, I think there's probably more of a push that way now that competition's a little bit more. The CPMs do ramp up with click-through rates. That it means that the ads you have to create nowadays, you want to have a low click-through rate, so your CPM drops and really plummets, so you can afford the ads. But then, so you only want a small number of people clicking, so they better be informed about what's happening. So when they do click, they're very likely to buy. So that's, when we translate that all backwards, it means that any ad we create now is much more informative and educational and value-based. So if we create a really good experience for a user where they feel like this has been really good, cool content, even as an ad, I didn't realize it was an ad, and then it has a call to action at the end of it, you kind of get the best of both worlds, because it means that someone likes your content, they've been watching the video, then they're going to happy to watch the call to action. If they're not interested, they're going to skip the ad by the time you do the offer. But some people are going to be like, actually, hang on a second, I might consider this. And then by the time you got to the end of that pitch, they're like, I want this actually. And they click and then go buy. And it's kind of moving the whole funnel onto your ad. But in order to make the ad work, it still needs to be content rich and valuable, so people will entertain the idea of receiving that pitch.
So I'm just going to put into a nutshell what Tom explained. There's other platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. They just have random stuff coming up, and they don't mind people clicking off because they come back. It's kind of random. YouTube needs people to stay, so they're going to charge you more if your link in the ad takes you somewhere else. And that is why they charge you, and they actually punish you for getting people to click off, which is really weird. But because you understand that now, you're going to have an edge over your competition.
Now we have this new arm called Bedurk, which is a strange name, I know. Bedurk, which is like the team in there are isolating the best content, bettering that content, and putting some small ad spend behind it. It very often turns into profit. And you're growing your channel at the same time with loads of subscribers, and loads of views and high quality views, because you can just target your like perfect customer with demographic and everything else. So you're kind of isolating the perfect audience. And that's where we start everyone off now. If we want to get started with YouTube and make it work, we start there because it's very, I say very easy. I never like using the word easy. It's just simple and it works very effectively. And we start everyone off there, small scale, find out what data works, find out what content works. And then from there, we can start to build upon that and because all the things like making sure your tracking's in the right place and that type of thing, that's a kind of, we just get all that sorted. So by the time you're ready to then go into some of the bigger campaigns, you've got data, you know what targeting is working for you, you know what content works with your audience, and you know your offer converts. It's like, cool. Yeah. Now that you've got that, now let's start to explore and go a little bigger and start to work on how do we scale that up.
That's super cool. You know, as you're speaking, the thing that keeps hitting me is that in YouTube, from what I'm gathering, the organic and the paid ads they have way more overlap than, for example, what we've seen work really well on Facebook and TikTok. When you're running ads there, you got to get in and get out real quick so that you don't interrupt too much of their day. And you build that on the back of organic content, which is, just lead with value, right? And here you're saying blend the two together and make it as similar as possible. That's really interesting. I love that. I love that perspective.
I hope you enjoyed that, and I'm going to keep doing more of these summaries of my favorite podcast interviews, and I'm especially looking for the kind of content that you, the viewer, can immediately use and start getting an edge, an advantage when it comes to your content creation plans. That's it, and I'll see you in the next video. If you're interested to see the full-length version of this, the full 1-hour interview I had with Tom Breeze and get all the juicy details, click the link above, and that'll take you so you can enjoy the whole thing.